Kame-Cast with your hosts, Cody Taylor and Doug Keeney. And they're bringing you the best from the world of anime, sports, gaming, music, and much more. This is Kame-Cast, a recreational media production.
What's up, world? You're listening to Kame-Cast. My name's Cody, as always. I've got Doug with me. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, my friend?
Oh, not a whole lot. Another beautiful day in Ohio. Rainy, sometimes sunny, shiny.
Yeah, every single school in the area, well, just about every single school in the area had some kind of delay or closing today.
Well, I'll tell you what. I woke up at 6 to go get gas, and I almost killed myself going down the front steps.
Okay, well, we will come back to that in just a sec, but boys and girls, we got a very special guest with us. We've been teasing him for the last couple weeks here on the show. We finally got him on, ladies and gentlemen, from the Hear&See podcast, Mr. Ian Baldwin.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Oh, dude, it's going great. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's good to finally have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been fun to listen to like a few of the episodes. Specifically Nick's episode. The first one was really fun.
Oh, yeah. Nick's always a great episode.
That episode was fun, but it didn't hit me till like we got towards the tail end of recording that Nick had his mic like down here.
Oh.
And, so that's why in that one his audio isn't as loud as it is in the one he did after that.
Yeah.
Because it completely didn't occur to me until we were almost done. And I'm like, well, we only have him for an hour, so I can't.
Yeah.
I can't redo it.
No, for sure. And that's stuff I've been learning a lot about with this recording. It's like I was starting Hear&See. It's like this was the first podcast I've ever done.
Yeah.
You know, and like you guys, it's like you're just kind of learning as you go, and doing it like on your own is like a lot of fun. But like I found it was really helpful to just bring people along to help. So it's like you guys have each other, and it's great.
Oh, yeah, it definitely wouldn't work if it was just one of us, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, left to my own devices, the show would probably be really boring, and left to Cody's own devices, nothing would probably ever go out.
Probably not. You'd probably get like 15 hours of B-roll, and then I'd never post anything.
So we complement each other really well in that regard. So how's things, man?
Good.
No, I know things have been a little crazy with trying to get work and everything squared away. Without getting into too specifics, how's everything going on that front?
Great. I just started a second job, so like just trying to get some funds together to kind of like fuel Hear&See. It's like when you're doing your own stuff and kind of building things from the ground up, it's like you can kind of bootstrap things and do stuff without like hardly any funds at all at first, but it's like the more serious you get, the more you need to be able to put finances back into it. So just like self-funding has been great, and I've had to get sponsors for my podcast because it was like when I'm paying money to record, since I don't have the time to record it myself, it's like I'm starting to reach out to like local businesses and get creative with how to like fund it.
Yes, it definitely seems like it's kind of crossing that threshold of being like this kind of small self-contained thing to where it's kind of, I mean, Hear&See's, it seems like you guys are doing some pretty big business. I see nothing but rave reviews for you guys, and your download numbers seem to be picking up every single week.
Yeah, they're really starting to. I've learned a lot about the analytics side of podcasts recently. So I host my podcast on Simplecast, and Simplecast is kind of a catch-all. Like it will send your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher, stuff like that. You can see the download numbers there, but then on iTunes, if you go to iTunesConnect.apple.com, you can actually look and see how people are listening. So you can see when they stop listening, when they start listening again. Like there's really detailed analytics. So I've actually found out, and this may be helpful for any podcast out there, is that people are only listening to about half the shows. Like they'll listen for like 30 minutes and then stop listening. So I'm trying to figure out, should I shorten my episodes? Should I still do longer ones, but only with specific guests? Because I mean, like, let's face it, if somebody's like not necessarily well known, people may not want to listen all the way through because they just don't know enough about the person to stay interested. Like everybody's life is like interesting, you know, because like we all do things that contribute to like society and like locally especially too. So that's why I love that we're both doing local like content essentially.
Oh yeah.
It's like that's the only way people are going to find out about how special and like how much of a gem I think Dayton, Ohio is.
Oh yeah,
You know.
most definitely.
Yeah, I think we kind of ran into that as well. Not like from analyzing or anything. I think we both just realized that we're both collectively putting out like almost 3-hour episodes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then we're like, we're not Joe Rogan. No one's gonna
Yeah,
no one's
literally.
gonna sit down and watch and listen to this all the
Literally,
way
our
through.
longest episode before it went through editing and all that clocked in at about 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And after all the editing, I was only able to cut about an hour out of it where it made sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, about the time we did that episode, I'm like, okay, we need to kind of I mean, it's fun to just go off and talk, and it's good. It's fun for us, and I'm sure for people that know us, it's entertaining. But that's something that we're kind of working on now, is kind of starting to
pull back the reins and get just like really good content.
Yeah,
And
so we usually cap it off at about an hour now.
Mm-hmm.
The last few ones we've done have very rarely gone over that.
Yeah.
And you can always do like a part 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I like what I'm finding out is just like I'm trying to think like I'm not hosting the podcast.
Right.
Like if I listen to podcasts while I'm driving, if I haven't gone to the gym in forever, but when I go to the gym, like you run for like 20-30 minutes, like that would be a good length for somebody who's like going out through their daily life.
Right.
And it's like you get like 15-minute breaks at work, lunch breaks, like those are other times that people would have an opportunity to listen. So like if you're breaking up your day, you'll probably, if it's an hour episode, maybe listen to 30 minutes on your way to work, 30 minutes on your way home. So
Yeah, that's definitely something that we're considering as we go farther along. So let's get into Hear&See, man. Where did all that start? Like, because I only became aware of it recently.
okay. No, I can definitely tell like a brief story like about it, because it really wasn't meant to be a podcast.
Really?
And Hear&See wasn't really meant to be a promotional company either. With doing the events and the shows and stuff, I actually started Hear&See as a business to do graphic design for like musicians and small businesses. So this was like 2 years ago, and like January 2015, no, going to 2016. So it was in December, and I think I was talking to Jake, my friend Jake at the time, Jake Bryant.
Shout out to Jake.
Yeah, you should definitely have him on the podcast
We're-
at some
Oh, it's
point.
in the, it's in the
Yeah,
works.
we're
Yeah.
working on it. It's
we're
nothing
waiting,
concrete.
We're
but-
waiting for all the stuff to happen.
Sweet.
I've fortunately been able to talk to him about all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
that's awesome. He
As
definitely
soon
has
as-
a lot of stuff he's working on.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything, but I'm super excited
He's,
for
Yeah.
he's,
whatever
he's
it
told
is.
me a little bit, and from what it sounds like, it's going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. But he and I like had done like work together for different bands, like Hold Your Breath.
Hold Your Breath was awesome.
Yeah. Jordan, I know, is working on new music right now.
You worked with Witness as well, didn't you?
Yeah, a long time ago. Man, this is a lot of throwbacks for sure.
Dude,
But-
we're going to get some throwbacks today.
Yeah. But like doing those kind of projects with Jake, him and I had always kind of bounced ideas off of each other with brainstorming. And I think I was just like, well, I'm kind of at this crossroads where I can either continue doing design under my own name, like Ian Baldwin. And I used to have like Ian Baldwin Design. After that, I did a company I made called Nactivity that I did with my friend Paul Milliman. And then kind of took a break and just went back to using my own name. But it's like you kind of go through this like dilemma where you're like, well, people know me personally, so it's kind of more personable if I use my own name for my business. But then you kind of have this identity crisis where it's like, well, then I have to be acting professional 100% of the time. So with Hear&See, it's really easy to kind of detach myself from that.
Yeah,
And-
make it like you're like a representative for Hear&See, not
Yeah.
necessarily, hey, this is Ian Baldwin of Ian Baldwin
Right, exactly.
Productions or whichever.
Yeah. And I'm starting to bring people on to help with the being promoters with Hear&See. So like Alex from Knavery and Austin from Knavery are both promoters in Hear&See.
Really?
So just bringing people on, like you kind of be able to have that umbrella to run a business.
Oh yeah.
Like when you're an LLC or doing business as, it makes it a lot easier to manage the business side of things. And I'm not great at business, but I've listened to a lot of business podcasts. One of them's called Sean West is a good one to check out. Gary Vanderchuck, Gary V, he like does a lot of stuff that he'll talk about businesses or being an entrepreneur. So this is stuff I've been interested in probably for the past like 3 or 4 years. And it took a long time of listening to podcasts, reading books to like really, I guess, find the confidence to go out and do it. And after failing a lot, you know, like it never was perfect. It's still never perfect. Like my website's a mess. Like don't go to my Hear&See website. It hasn't been updated in probably 3 or 4 months, but that's I don't even care anymore.
I don't know if we've ever had someone do like an anti-plug on here. Don't go visit my stuff.
But like it's fine if you do. It's funny because it's like I think a lot of people, including myself, are so wrapped up in looking professional and legit all the time. And it's just not possible when you're working like 1 or 2 jobs and like you're trying to build something on the side. Like it's okay to tell people, hey, here's my card, or here's like my Instagram. Like my Instagram's the only thing I'm updating right now, really, and my Facebook. Like let people tell you that they're going to your website and they want to see it be operational.
Yeah.
You know, in a way, like what I should do, and I probably will do in the next couple of weeks, is just take everything down and put like a contact form on there.
Go ahead.
That's honestly what I see a lot of management companies are doing, record labels, like smaller ones. Even it's just like they have their logo, a brief description about what the company does, and then like maybe a roster or like contact info and social media. They're so focused on what they're working on that they don't have time to like make a cool, rad looking website, you know, like.
Yeah.
And that's honestly where I'm at, is I just don't have the time right now to dedicate to posting every day, which I should be. And I'm trying to get to that point to where there's websites like Buffer or
Buffer's awesome.
Hootsuite. There's a lot of services out there that are actually free starting out that you can schedule posts. So just finding ways to like bootstrap. I keep using the word bootstrap, but what if you don't know what bootstrap is, and I'm just more saying this for the audience, is it's like using what you have or using templates or resources that help build something, so you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Essentially, there's so many resources out there that can help you not have to start from scratch at a very like affordable cost. So it's good to use those while you're small, and then when you have the money or the capital to pay somebody to build it for you or build it yourself, then do that.
Okay. So, what platform did you use to build your website, if I may ask?
WordPress.
Oh, really?
And then prior to that, so when Hear&See was more of a design-focused services for musicians, I used Squarespace. Squarespace is like $100 a year.
Yeah. A lot of the podcasts I listen to promote for them, and I've toyed with the idea of getting one for us, but that's just a lot of money to put down.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I mean, and kind of like you were saying earlier, before we started recording, it's just like using like tax money or whatever, like setting money aside for that stuff when you find that it's really necessary is the way to go. But I'm kind of in the mindset now to not do things until people are asking for it.
Yeah.
Because like you want to listen to your audience and what they're telling you. And right now the podcast seems to be resonating with people. The concerts seem to be resonating with people. So why spend time and effort in stuff that people are asking for?
Yeah.
Now, you brought up the concerts and the concert promotion that you do. What has been the biggest challenge that you've found in going that route?
This actually may be funny to you guys or just interesting, but concerts, putting them on yourself, the most difficult thing I found is finding sound.
Really?
And sounds like, at least affordable sound. Sounds like the one thing you need to actually have a show. Sound and bands.
Oh yeah.
And a venue.
Now, by sound, you mean like sound equipment? And that
right,
kind of
sound
stuff?
equipment, finding an engineer who's willing to run sound for the night at an affordable cost. The venues, finding venues was really difficult in the beginning, and I can actually get into a short story about that. But I wasn't even planning on doing concerts, like I said. Like, I had done a couple in the past. I did concerts at a church called Hopeland, where my wife and I met, and I was playing drums for them, kind of just participating in normal church activities there. And they had wanted to do a fundraiser for their youth group. And with that, they asked me, because they knew I knew a lot of local bands. It's like, hey, can you like reach out to some of your local band friends and see if we can throw a concert for the youth group? And this was like in 2014, 14 or 15, I think.
Wow. It doesn't seem like that's so long ago.
No,
but-
I mean, it was like
but-
5 years.
Yeah.
But so I reached out to boys, not Boys Like Girls. That's like a great band.
Yes, if you got Boys Like Girls at one of your shows, oh my gosh.
It was Boy Meets World
Boy Meets...
from Cincinnati.
I think I remember them.
Yeah.
Who were they? They were previously. Who were they?
Yeah,
They switched to that name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, who was it?
Man.
It was a really popular band. I can't
Yeah.
remember their name.
I'll have to look that up.
Yes,
I'm, like,
I'll have
curious.
to look into that because I can't remember the name either. But I've definitely heard of the band.
Yeah, but they've agreed to play. I think Sun Culture played. If you remember them.
Oh yes, love
then-
those guys
I
so
still love
much.
Sun Culture.
Yeah. Man, and then the Great Wide Open. I think there was one more band, like this girl Mindy Galvin played. But I think we had like 80 kids show up, like 60 or 80 kids. It far exceeded like what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
And like the concert was a success. I had a lot of help from my friend Carly. So she actually runs an event planning business now. She's great at planning events. So if you need like a wedding planned or like just a corporate event, she'd be great. But it's like you can't do it on your own. So like she was a great asset for like figuring out things. And at churches, they obviously have sound equipment already because they do services every Sunday.
Yeah.
So like the venue was set, the audio was set. We had the bands. The bands were like gracious enough to let us donate a majority of the money to the youth group. But we did set aside like a guarantee for like the headlining band.
Yeah.
Which was Boy Meets World. But I mean, that's like what you have to do is like you have to kind of utilize what you have. And what was great about the church shows, like in the beginning, is like everyone was willing to help. We had a lot of volunteers from the church. Boy Meets World actually had somebody come up from Cincinnati to do an interview with them. So
Really?
it's just really cool to see like the community come together, people participating, and like it's kind of cliche in a way, I guess, but making a big deal about your local scene
Oh, yeah.
is a
yeah.
great help. It helps get
the
other
thing-
people involved.
The thing I think you could probably agree with, and that we kind of always thought over the past few years, is in Dayton, the music scene was withering away.
Yeah, no,
For a while, yeah.
there was people involved and like bands playing, but it seems, and it's still growing again, but it seemed like people were happy to just stay at home and watch Netflix or I don't know.
And it's not, and the crazy thing about that was it wasn't that way. Like I can speak for myself. I didn't know Cody when I was in junior high. I didn't know you back then either.
Yeah.
But back when I was in junior high, 8th grade, 9th grade, I used to go to shows at the After in Springfield.
Yeah.
And the Attic and
Yeah.
Gathering Grounds and all those places. And every single show that you went to, even if it was an all local show, they generally packed.
Yeah.
And of course, back then you had bands, you had Delta, Callahan, and then just somewhere along the way, it just kind of fell off. Like I don't know what happens. Like all those bands broke up and splintered off into different directions, and then it's like, especially I've noticed it especially after the Attic went away.
Yeah.
That it's like, for some reason, the scene kind of dried up for a little while there, and that kind of made me sad.
Yeah, I think this is just my personal opinion, but I feel like after those venues closed, a lot of people maybe lost their excitement and they felt like, well, they kind of closed a chapter of their scene life. It kind of closed the chapter like, okay, like it's time to grow up now. Like going to shows was fun, but like now that part of my life is over. Because I actually, funny enough, today I was at Walmart to pick up some batteries for a friend because like the power went out a lot of places around here tonight, and he was like, hey man, like my fireplace takes AA batteries, and like it's like, all right, because it's like gas powered, and I was like, I'll go pick up some batteries for you because you can't leave your house because your dog's there. And I ran into my friend Jade, who I like grew up with. I was in the very first band I was in, Farewell Miss. Her brother and I were in that band.
Oh, okay.
And I like ran into her. I was like, I hadn't seen her in like 7 or 8 years. She's like, I don't know if you remember me, but, and I was like, yeah. I was like, it was great to see her. And like, she probably hasn't been to a show in like probably 5 years. She has 2 kids now. Like she's mom life, man.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people our age, it's like their moms or dads or like they're in college. Like I get it. Like, life gets a hold of you. And
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, even us. I mean, because that show at Mike's Bike Park this past weekend
Yeah,
was...
that was the first show I'd been to in probably 2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
that's
interesting.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
I think the last show we went to that wasn't one of our own was probably that Carousel King show.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, and that was almost 4 years ago.
So you guys are both in bands, or
We used to be. Yeah,
Okay.
we used to be. We had a band called Queen of Hearts for
Yeah, I
a little
remember
while.
Queen of Hearts.
And then after that one, we formed a band called 10th Planet, which was more or less the same shtick. You know, female lead singer and all that good stuff. Yep. But we recorded an EP with Jake Bryant, and then right as soon as we finished the EP, our singer Heather told us, "Hey, I'm moving to Arizona." So I'm like,
oh my gosh, dude.
I'm like, you couldn't have told us that before we laid down your vocal,
right?
Because now, because now, so unfortunately that band got killed before we ever even got to start. But
yeah.
But then after that, I did a little bit of stuff with Second Story Anthem.
Okay.
When they were kind of in between, when Miles was out of the band and they were still kind of finding people.
Yeah. Fun fact, by the way, that's frozen. Nobody can see this, but the water's frozen.
Oh my gosh.
I pulled the water out of the fridge, not the freezer.
That's interesting.
Well, good thing I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
But before Walmart, I'm a nerd, by the way.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm a closet nerd.
Oh, we're huge nerds.
I know,
we started this podcast solely on anime. So.
That's what he was telling me.
Yeah.
But like, I went to GameStop to make sure my pre-order for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu was able to be picked up tonight at midnight, and we'll talk about it because Pokemon's like throwback for me for sure. But I want to like relive those days.
Real quick before we get into the game, have you seen the Detective Pikachu trailer?
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your thoughts on that?
We'll pause and come back to that because
Okay.
I'm curious I do want to talk about that.
Yes.
But the employee at GameStop knows Grasmere.
Yeah.
He had on a Grasmere button and a Second Story Anthem button on his lanyard.
Man.
And I was like, it clicked for me. I was like, so these like are the people that are going to shows again and should like they're going to be the people that should be spreading the word.
Oh yeah.
Like obviously they're friends with Tyler and everyone, but he's like, yeah, man, like I really like their new stuff a lot. Like I brought it up to him like, hey, like I was a promoter for that show, and like thank you for being there and like supporting them. And he was like really stoked because he went to their Thursday night show in Columbus, then he went to the Mike's Bike Park show.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
commitment.
So I was like,
Awesome.
I knew he looked familiar, and it's like it's so cool to like run into that in real life. Not saying that like the show wasn't real, or you know what I mean, but it's like it's like outside of the show atmosphere.
Outside of our bubble, as we like to say.
Yeah, it's definitely like being a show promoter in music. It's definitely a bubble. Like you don't really think about people on the outside. It's like having buttons and stickers out there really do help because it's a conversation starter. And like I remember when I was playing in bands, and I'm sure when you guys were playing in bands, like you were like, well, we don't, like nobody really cares about buttons, but people have lanyards. Like you have to think about what people have.
Well,
they'll put them on there.
Well, put it this way. There's a reason that a guy like Gene Simmons is a millionaire. Mm-hmm. I mean, you gotta market your brand.
Yeah, so that's the way to market.
Yeah, and you make products that people are gonna buy. Yeah. And Tyler, I have a lot of respect for Tyler Cox, the singer for Grasmere, because he is so business minded.
Yeah.
And he is very much looking to that. When we had him on this past Saturday before the show, we were talking about why the change in style, and one thing that he was very conscious about was record sales and trying to push more product out to a bigger audience.
Yeah, it sounds really businessy and kind of weird in a way, but you are creating a product, and if people aren't buying it, then you're not going to be doing music as a career.
Right.
It's just you'll be stuck on a local level or playing bars, and it's like there's nothing wrong with that path, but you should be conscious about, okay, am I making music only for myself? Or am I trying to like cater to a certain audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I keep looking back to make sure our recording.
No,
is
you're
not
fine.
pausing.
No, I'm keeping an eye on it for us. So, is his episode out yet?
And that's going up tomorrow.
Sick. So we'll definitely be listening to it.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna have to go in and completely re-edit because I accidentally deleted my edited file when I was cleaning up space today.
Oh man.
So I'm gonna have to completely re-edit that tonight, but that won't take long.
right on. But so if you guys want, we can talk about Pokemon.
Yeah.
Let's
For a
talk
little
about
bit.
Pokemon.
Well, real quick, I just wanted to, before we wrap up on Hear&See, I just got to say, I listened to the Kel Scaluzzo episode about a week ago.
Yeah.
Y'all succeeded in making me feel old. Y'all, you guys were talking about Delta Delta, and she talked about the EP coming out 11 years ago, and I'm
Wow.
like, geez, because the first local show I ever went to was the Callahan Face the Day EP release show with Delta
Wow.
Delta and
Okay.
all those bands. So it's like, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, man, am I getting old? I'm like, and I mean, that's just, it blows my mind that much time has passed, because it doesn't feel like it.
It really doesn't, dude.
It feels like just yesterday I was going to Hot Topic and bothering John Waldron when he was working there.
No, for sure. And it's funny because I'm reigniting those friendships. Like when I lived in Canton, Ohio for 2 years, year and a half, 2 years to pursue being in a band. Mm-hmm. And I actually talked about it on the Gym City podcast. So if anyone wants to hear those stories,
I just listened to that today. It's a good
awesome.
one.
Thank you. But if anyone wants to hear those stories, go listen to that episode of Gym City podcast. But moving back from Canton to Dayton, like I left Dayton because I was kind of convinced it was right around when the Attic was just kind of like, I think the Attic shut down first. Like, remember it shut down and then was back again and then shut down again?
Yeah, it, like shut down, and then it looked like they might be able to work something out, and then it went away for good.
Yeah,
something
so
like
it was around the time the Attic had closed its doors for the first time that I was like, okay, it's time to like change things up. Like, I need to move to a different city and pursue music somewhere else. So I kind of gave up on Dayton. I was like, okay, like I'm going to try something else. Played in bands out there for a little bit and then decided to move back. And Kelsey wasn't in the band anymore, but Formulas had formed. So it was John, Andy,
Jake,
Michael, thank you. All those guys.
Yeah.
And then Jane. But those were the first real friends I had moving back here. So it was cool to kind of get their perspective on things and like just kind of experience like music in the local community through like the lens of their band.
Oh yeah.
So they definitely introduced me to a lot of people I'm friends with now, and it's like expanded, you know, like how we were talking about the bubbles earlier, like the bubbles are kind of going everywhere, and I just want it to be one big bubble.
Absolutely.
But we have to be able to bring people in again.
Yeah. And I think we're getting there, man, because I mean, as the Mike's Bikes Park show was definitely kind of a testament to that.
Yeah.
You know, there was a pretty good turnout for that.
How many people attended that overall? Did you get a
So
final
30 paid, I think 30 or 37 paid. And then obviously the bands are there and there's like 4 or 5 people helping out and you got the guest lists and all that. But
Yeah.
I think overall, I would say like 45, 50 people probably all together. Now, I think something we learned from that show, because we're getting these touring bands in again. So I've partnered up with It's All Good Booking and FBT Entertainment. So they're helping bring in touring bands here. Mm-hmm. But it's best to kind of let the local band close. Like Grasmere should have closed that show, I think, because they honestly brought the most people. Yeah, and we actually had them open the show.
Yeah, I did unfortunately notice that when they finished up, a little bit of the crowd did go with them, which was unfortunate.
So it's fine. Like that was a learning experience. Yeah. And I brought it up to Alex. So we had Knavery close out the show on Tuesday. So that way everybody sees the touring bands, because that's like the purpose is like they're going on tour to get new listeners. Mm-hmm. So if all the local fans leave for their friends, like they're not getting new listeners.
I remember when I went out on tour with Second Story Anthem a couple of years ago. I did a run with them through New Jersey, New York, that area, and I remember during the Jersey show, that was very, very much kind of the vibe. They went out of their way to make sure the out-of-town bands went on first. Yeah. So that way they could get the maximum amount of effect.
Yeah, and
so
I just
hearing
wasn't
you
thinking.
say that just brought that back to me.
Yeah, I just wasn't thinking about it. I was like, oh, well, the touring bands are obviously the ones that should get the most attention, but that's only on the flyer, essentially. Like, the flyer is like a great way to kind of show the importance, like, quote-unquote, of who, like, this is for the touring bands, but the local bands are supporting. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, it's a weird perspective in a way. And I was thinking more of like, I think as an audience member instead of like the promoter. And like the part of the promoter's job, in my opinion, is to make sure the touring bands get the most exposure.
Absolutely.
You know?
Speaking of touring bands and interesting happenings in the music world, have you guys been following what's been going on with this band Threaten? It's the story that alternative press has been covering a lot. There's this band that was based out of California, like a heavy metal band, and they faked a fan base over in the UK. I don't know how. Like he bought likes, bought profiles, that kind of stuff, and was able to book an entire tour of the UK off the strength of this.
Yeah,
and then. He goes over to the UK and no one shows up to these shows. The promoters are mad. He has band members leave because they didn't know that's what was going on. And this guy's still over there doing it. I'm like, man, and he's not apologetic whatsoever.
Wow. That's the type of thing that I know those people exist and those bands exist. And it's just it's a unfortunate reality.
How do you look at that as a promoter? Like if someone had done that to you, how would you approach something like that?
Well, I'm still relatively new to the promoting world, to be honest. So like the relationships that I'm building around promoting are people that I've either already been friends with for a few years, or they're just willing to take a chance on me being a new promoter, and they're trying to get touring bands to places like Dayton, where the people that are going out to the shows really care about the music and the bands and supporting the scene. But so like I haven't been approached by a lot of bands yet that I don't know. So it's like if that guy approached me, I mean, yeah, I'd probably want to look to see what their fan base is like. And likes can tell you a lot, but really what tells you the most is the engagement. So if people aren't engaging with that band on social media or on Spotify, because on Spotify you can see the amount of listeners in cities. So if the city, like a lot of bands I've noticed from our area that are starting to attract a lot of listeners, on Spotify it shows them as having a lot of listeners in like Chicago, Nashville, Columbus, Cincinnati, like those types of places, even LA too. It's like you want to kind of see, okay, so where are people listening? Because if people aren't listening in that city, I'm not going to book them. But I'm trying to give new bands a chance because I was there once, and you have to kind of like they're the new kids in town. So like the next time they come through, hopefully those numbers double. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking at engagement because you can buy likes, you can fake its numbers, even you can fake like the amount of plays.
We found that out the hard way when we started on Facebook with Kame-Cast.
Yeah.
Because, they have this really nice feature where you can boost your posts.
Oh, yeah. No,
I mean, not that that's not
legitimate.
Not that it's not legit, but what I found was when I would be boosting our posts, I would actually go and look at the profiles that are liking us. And I'm like, unfortunately, like we have about 660 on our page. I had to delete a solid 50 to 70 profiles.
You can report them?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good at least.
Yeah.
Wow.
So because I didn't want those profiles cluttering everything and making it look like we're bigger than we are when we're not.
That makes
sense.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why we stopped doing the boosted posts for the time being, because we want to kind of try to make it where the people that are going to engage are going to engage.
Right. No, that's a good point, and that's where I'm going to be experimenting the next month or two, so me, Alex, and Austin are taking like the rest of November and December off to kind of like figure out the January shows. We have 2 or 3 January shows that are in the planning process that we're probably going to announce next week.
Okay.
So I'll definitely send you guys a link to those. But
oh yeah, we'll share it.
Thank you. But just having that time to like try new things, like try new promoting methods. We were doing a Facebook Live for the America Part 2 show that we did on Tuesday night like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that got a really positive response. Like we had people commenting and watching the live stream, and it was just awesome to see. Like we were just basically doing, how like YouTubers do like a movie trailer review or a movie trailer reaction.
Yeah.
We decided to do that for music videos with the bands that we're playing.
That's really cool.
I can show you guys how to do this if you ever want to see how to do it. But there's a program called OBS. It's an open source software. And we were able to stream the music video. So we downloaded it, streamed it from the computer, and then had our faces from the webcam. and then we were able to talk about the music video while it was playing. So people that weren't, if people are being lazy and not clicking on links to go watch the music video, we were kind of forcing them to watch it with us.
Yeah. Right. Now, did you guys have to use a capture card for that, or what
No,
equipment was involved in that?
So I used my iPhone. OBS has an app on the iPhone you can download. It was like $15.
Okay.
So I was able to plug my iPhone into my Mac, run OBS to get our faces onto it. And then there was an app I downloaded. I forget the name of it, but you can download YouTube videos to your machine. And then you could just, in OBS, choose that video to play within a window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because I just got the free version of OBS
that's
for the Mac the other day, and I'm still kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something I'll have to look into.
Yeah, so it's like, it was good because the Facebook Live stuff, they're prioritizing that right now because they want people to stay on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, we could do a live stream on YouTube, but it's just Facebook's a better format right now for that. And I did a live stream with an artist, Ancestors Index. I think it was last Sunday or Saturday, one of those days. But we did a Instagram live, and that did really well. Like, because you can, like, if you and I were live streaming on Instagram, I could invite you to live stream with me. And so people would see me on one side and then you on the other. So both of our followers will like see that we're live streaming.
So kind of like the Skype split screen.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
cool.
So it's like it's a way to cross promote though. So it's like if you guys ever wanted to do it, we could do like an Instagram live to promote each other's podcasts.
Oh, I'm down. I'm way down to do that.
But that's something that this actually brings up a good point that I didn't think about earlier, but that's what the scene was before. Is there was a lot of cross promoting going on. Like,
oh yeah.
I remember like Miss May I would promote when Maryland Avenue had a new video out, and or if like one of their friends' bands on Rise Records was putting out new music, like they would post their music videos on like their MySpace or Facebook or whatever was current at that time. So just like more cross promotion, it's good.
Oh yeah,
You know?
most definitely. And I think we're kind of starting to see that a bit more with some of the new bands that are coming out. You're seeing a lot more, collaborations happening, a lot more bands talking about each other now.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthy. I think that's super healthy.
Yeah, it's a way to get the word out, and like when a friend of mine refers music for me to listen to, I'm more likely to check it out. And like my life's just really busy right now. Like I need to reply to a few people this weekend and be like, hey, like I apologize. Like I just haven't had the bandwidth to like listen to the music you sent me. Like I took a break from the Gems of Dayton playlist. And my plan for that, because I do want to bring it back, I was going to probably update it this week just with some fresh stuff, because like Knavery had new music, Grasmere has music, like all these bands have music out right now.
Better Anyways dropping a record tomorrow.
Yeah. So like people go to listen to that.
Yeah, I really like that playlist you do.
Thank you.
It's really solid. I think that's really one of the best ways to showcase the local music right now.
Thank you. No, it's like I've had a handful of people tell me that they found out about bands because of that playlist. So I want to keep doing it, but I think instead of doing it weekly, like I'm just going to do it monthly.
Yeah, that's probably
so
good.
like it'll just be a better overall. So if bands give me a heads up, because I could even just keep updating it throughout the month.
I joked with Cody that we jinxed that playlist because we totally plugged it in a show that we did early on.
Yeah.
And then like the next week when we went to record, we started talking about it, and Cody's like, "Yeah, he stopped doing it."
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm like,
no,
"Oh
it's
no."
fine. It was,
That is
we
interesting.
had plugged it, and then I saw your post where you had posted basically that you have some other stuff you need to handle.
Yeah.
So right now that kind of takes a backseat.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up, because that actually, what happened was my dad, we found out that he was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And since then, so thankfully, like we found out that there was a medicine that he could take that would put it into remission. So they found a kind of a workaround per se.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in remission for like 4 to 5 years, but we thought he was going to have to go through chemo. Like emotionally was just not, could not handle.
I mean, that's family. You don't screw around with family.
I went through something similar like that about, I think 2 summers ago now. My mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Oh my goodness.
And literally, she was diagnosed in, I think, April or May.
Yeah.
And then had the surgery in June. And like that, just snap a finger remission. Like didn't have to go through chemo
That's
or anything.
fantastic then.
It was 100% like successful.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a congrats, but like
Yeah.
I'm super thankful that
Oh, yeah.
that came, like that was the result.
Yeah.
But it like kind of it scares you a little bit because
Oh, yeah.
like obviously we have one life and
It's funny. I was more upset and more scared than my mother actually was.
no, I can
The
imagine.
the whole time my mom was like, "It's cool. God's got it."
Yeah,
no problem.
that was my
No
dad's
worries."
reaction.
And I'm like, "Mom, what? Why?
Yeah,
You're
no,
freaking
dude.
me out."
No, my dad had the same like reaction. It was just like, I'm happy. Well, not happy, but I'm okay with whatever happens. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that like that's a testament to his beliefs and everything, and it helped make me stronger as a believer, for sure. But it's like you said, family needs to come first, and I didn't. They're pretty private in their personal life, so I didn't want to post exactly what was
Right.
going on because I'm pretty open and transparent online for the most part. But I think a lot of things it's okay to remain private. So it was like I was just being respectful of them, and I'm happy for people to hear it on the podcast because I think that's part of the great thing about podcasts is you hear things that you wouldn't normally hear or see on social media.
Yeah.
Here.
It's kind of like it's that, yeah, it's like that glimpse into like somebody's life.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're having a private conversation with that person, but you're not actually in
Yeah.
the room. That it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
fly on the wall.
That's what made me and Cody want to do this podcast initially was he and I sat down. This is probably about a year ago.
Probably.
Now we sat down and we just talked about everything, life, music, anime, everything for like 3 hours. No recording, no nothing, no TV going, and just talking. And at the end of it, we looked at each other. We're like, man, it's like if we had microphones going, that would have made a heck of a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we jumped down the rabbit hole of like Joe Rogan, Bunny Ears,
Yeah.
Smodcast,
Yeah.
all these different. And I'm like, while listening to these, I'm like, so badly I want to just interject like a thought or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I could do this. I want to do this. And at first, before we actually started doing this, I wanted to do it, but I was like, this could be a lot. I don't know if I can do this. And then the more we did it, more and more we did it, I'm like, okay, let's record. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm so
It
excited.
just keeps
Come on.
getting better. And that's like the more listeners you get when they start listening, they probably won't even hear the first handful of episodes.
Oh no.
No.
Which, to be fair, neither do we.
No, for sure.
Like I'm doing this Throwback Thursday thing right now on our YouTube channel, which I completely forgot to post today's episode. I'll do that later. Where I'm putting our back catalog from iTunes and Spreaker up on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing an episode a week and going back and listening to those shows. It's like, man, I mean, we're still early on.
Yeah.
This is going to be episode 25.
Okay.
But you can already tell the growth in
Yeah, you learn,
6
like-
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn like little tricks and tips and stuff that just tweak everything.
Yeah.
And since then, we've updated to a better computer.
Yeah.
Better software.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, it's slowly, even now, I mean, there's still issues, but you slowly, you can tell when things are starting to like get pulled together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just predicting right now, like just by the way this is flowing, this is probably going to be our best show to date.
I'm happy to hear that.
I'm
happy to
feeling
be a
really
part of
really
it.
good about this conversation.
Awesome.
So before we run out of time, we need to go ahead and jump on some nerddom.
Yeah.
Because we've been teasing it all episode. So let's talk some Pokemon, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So, you all have seen the Detective Pikachu trailer, right? What are your thoughts, initial?
Yeah. I mean, I was watching it again earlier today. And it honestly, the real life Pokemon look about what I was expecting, especially because like there was an artist that was drawing and animating. I don't know if he was animating, but he was doing realistic drawings or models of Pokemon.
Yeah, you see
Yeah,
that
I've
from
seen-
time to time.
Yeah.
I think my favorite's always been Meowth.
Yeah.
I think he looks pretty cool.
I don't think I caught him in the trailer.
Not in the
but
trailer. I'm talking about the drawing.
Oh yeah. But like Charizard looks super sick. Like Pikachu was like classic, and I love that Ryan Reynolds is like
Dude,
the voice
that's
for
my
him.
favorite thing about it is Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember at first thinking like, man, this is how we're gonna get the live action Pokemon movie. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, you could still do this. You could do this movie and still somewhere down the road do a serious live action Pokemon movie.
Yeah, I think they're trying to feel out if this is something people actually go see.
And
Because one of the guys, I was listening to his reaction to it on YouTube, and he was just saying that this is like the budget. They probably just didn't have a budget to animate and do a lot of Pokemon.
right.
And like actors and stuff, like I'm sure Reynolds wasn't cheap.
Oh no.
You know?
Probably
Probably not.
I would say probably what?
'Cause
in
he
the
did
top
Deadpool,
10,
right?
Yeah, he did Deadpool.
So I don't know, because I've heard stories where Ryan will take cuts on roles if they have a small budget and it's something that he really wants to do.
Yeah, I mean that
like
makes sense.
the original Deadpool role, we all know that he's the only reason that. I mean,
Yeah, he more or less bankrolled that, didn't he?
For the most part, but he took a very very small cut of actually on-site filming. I think afterwards he got a pretty good cut of what came in revenue wise, but
I'd be curious to know, and that's stuff that I never dive too deep into the actors and what they do and why they do things, but it's always interesting to watch the behind the scenes on DVD or Blu-ray or now digital downloads.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if that comes out on DVD, I'll probably get a copy of it as long as the movie lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people I think love the fact that it's happening, and there's other people that are just we don't need this, or this looks like total crap, and it's we don't know yet. I think it's supposed to appeal to adults and kids.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think a lot of people are expecting that it's going to be Deadpool but in Pikachu's body. I'm like, I don't think
Hardly.
I don't think that's the route they're going to go. I don't think we're going to hear Pikachu drop an F-bomb or
Probably
anything like
not.
that in this movie.
I saw that meme though. There's a meme where Deadpool's inside of a Pikachu costume, taking off the helmet.
Yeah.
And he's got a gun.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
I mean,
But-
the packaging for Deadpool 2, I don't know if you guys saw a display, but they had different movies that Deadpool was on the cover on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, how did they pull that off? Because that would be so many licenses and so many things they would have to pay for to make that happen.
Well, they made so much money off that first Deadpool.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't as small as the first movie, but I'm pretty sure they kept the budget for the second one pretty small as well.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just from what I understand, they tried to do that for the trying to keep it reined in and not go over the top CGI and stuff like
Right.
that.
No, for sure.
Speaking of over the top, we'll come back to this in a second. Have you seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet?
No.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
something I'm going to try to see this week.
Trust me. Are you a fan? You a Queen fan?
I like Queen. I'm not the biggest Queen fan, but it's I can appreciate their music
Oh,
and what they did for rock and roll. Because I think this is just a first reaction to, because I never saw Queen live, but
None of us did.
I had friends that in my youth group that they were huge Queen fans, and I think Queen was probably the first, not the first, but one of the biggest live rock bands that brought kind of a theatrical feel and look to a band.
Oh yeah, I mean, I credit Queen just as much as people credit David Bowie and Alice Cooper and a lot of those early '70s guys for kind of creating the theatrical. I think Queen was just as important to that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, particularly Freddie. I mean,
Yeah.
To this day, there's still not anyone that has ever touched, even come close, in my opinion, to touching him on a stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the guy they got playing him, Rami, however you say his name, I apologize.
I can't remember his last
It's
name.
Malik or Malik.
Rami Malek. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
He
I
plays.
apologize.
He plays Mr. Robot.
Okay.
But he did very well. He got all the little mannerisms down. They made fake teeth for him to put in.
Okay.
So he could have the overbite like Freddie.
Yeah.
Obviously, they used a mix of his voice and Freddie's voice to kind of get the voice you hear in the movie. But as far as the performance, the movie, the story, from a historical standpoint, there are a couple things they didn't do so well. They kind of got the timing of Freddie's diagnosis wrong, but that's such a small nitpick that I can forgive it for as good as the movie was.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I've just been super behind on movies.
Yeah.
And series in general, but it's I'm trying to be as committed as possible to just making like next year be successful. So I think like laying the groundwork for the podcast was important. I did, I want to say 6 or 7 concerts this year. And like there was a lot of people that deserve a shout out for that. Like, I mean, like I said, Austin and Alex for helping out. The Bright Side, Mike's Bike Park, Encore Live Room. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, I didn't have all those venues like figured out right away. Like I just didn't know that they existed or that they were willing to put on concerts. So like Sabrina Cox was a person that introduced me to Mike's. Isaac Williams introduced me to Brightside. And then Jeremy Mix, who owns Encore, like he was like, hey, like you can start doing some shows here and experimenting and trying to figure out where like how people are willing to come in and, you know, like be at a show. So like it's like a slow process. And I actually was writing a post today that'll probably go up tomorrow or Saturday on social media, but just like showing 6 photos from the past couple of shows and just like, hey, like each time more and more people are coming, like you guys are everyone who's attending is I can't talk. Everyone who's attending is as much a part of it as like I am or anyone helping put on the show. So like we're all like included in this. We're all responsible in a big and small way. We're all responsible for how much Dayton is on the map.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and you and I were talking about it off the air that, you know, right now is a prime time to start getting involved and really start pushing because, I mean, the music's coming back. There's some great records coming out by all these bands. You know, people like you are out there doing all the legwork to get these shows going, and people are starting to show up again. So, I mean, now, if ever there was a time to put everything in and get all gears going for a Dayton Renaissance, I think now is that time.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I'm sure like it's going to still be like a slow build, but
well, everything worth doing is.
Yeah, but that's why I haven't had time to watch movies, play games. Like that's why I wanted to take these next couple of weeks off just to enjoy my life.
Well,
you know, like not saying that I
I mean, that and you're going into the holiday season, which is already always
right.
so hectic trying to figure out family plans, and plus you're married, so you got to figure out whose house is going when and where.
Yeah, so that all plays a big part in it, and like that, I guess anyone listening, I want to remind them if you are working on something, like take time for yourself, because if I've been burnt out before, and it takes a long time to get back on the horse.
Oh yeah, oh definitely.
Like, we burned ourselves out pretty good. At one point, we used to only record on the weekends.
Yeah,
and we'd try and pump out like
2 episodes,
two episodes a week, but they were both like 2 hours long at least.
Yeah,
and we burned ourselves out so quickly that there was a good almost month where we just didn't post anything.
Yeah, it's really easy to do. So just bringing people on board to help, and obviously, like, and I'm going to tell anyone involved with Hear&See, like, because it's all unpaid right now. Like, I'm not getting paid. Like, any money we make from the shows is going back into bringing touring bands here.
Yeah.
Paying for, like, website, like, to be hosted, paying for the podcast to be hosted. Like, there's costs involved with running Hear&See.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, Photoshop, like, so many things.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you can bootstrap it for free to a point, but eventually things like this cost money. Bands cost money to be in bands,
especially if you want to progress. I mean, you have to, if you want it to go beyond, like we were saying earlier, the hobby bar level. You need to invest in it if you're going to expect other people to invest in it.
Absolutely. So that's the energy that you put out there, and I think people can kind of like sniff that out, like, oh, he's not really serious. Like, why would I go support this or listen to this?
Yeah.
And like I've had people in the past week or two say they just started listening to my podcast.
Yeah. Like
starting at episode 1, and the podcast has been out for like since August, September. You know, so like you have to remember too, people aren't going to go check it out the moment you post it.
Right. It takes some time. I mean, we're just now getting people talking to us about episodes that we put up 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's incredible to see that.
Someone will bring something up to me. It's like, hey, so when you said this, and I'll be like, I said that? I'm like, it's like, I listen to these shows once when I'm editing, and then I never hear them again.
Right. Well, that's kind of the beauty of the podcasting. The podcast is like this is a moment in time that we're capturing, and it's like I was telling somebody the other day, like this, even if I stop doing the podcast after season 2, it's still going to be like a time capsule of like what I was doing and what the people I was talking to were doing. So they can always reference back to it if they want to like relive something.
Absolutely.
You know, or like show it to their grandkids or their, hopefully they never take the podcast down. The hosting.
Oh
people.
yeah. Well, as long as you pay the bills.
Right, exactly.
We're going through that with Spreaker right now. We have to get our Spreaker paid so we don't lose our platform. But you brought up season 2.
Yeah.
Not to press too hard, but
Yeah.
any idea when we can start expecting to see? Because I know we're still in the midst of season 1 right now,
Right.
aren't we?
So I have 2 more episodes being released for season 1. Then we'll go on that break. And then season 2 should come out in January,
Cool.
like mid-January probably. So I'm trying to get the finances figured out for that. I'm looking for a sponsor. I was thinking about putting up like a listener sponsorship. So if you wanted to pay like $10 or $15,
Like a Patreon type deal.
yeah. So I was actually going to be looking into Patreon or just doing stuff via PayPal. But if you want to pay $10 or $15, get either like a T-shirt or a button or something.
Maybe some extra content or whatever you can do.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about
I follow a
that.
few Patreon pages that do that, and that's pretty cool.
But getting listeners involved if they want to support Hear&See and the podcast to like continue doing what we're doing. So that's been a thought. And season 2 is focusing on being an amateur musician and going into being a pro musician.
Okay. What has been your? I know they all have their own special moments, but if
Yeah.
you could pinpoint one, what would you say is the definitive best episode you've done so far?
Content wise, or just like it was like I didn't necessarily know what was going to happen going into it. Like it was just my favorite to record because I have one that's been the most popular.
Okay,
I can kinda go through maybe-
we can do both. What's
Yeah.
the most popular, and I guess creatively, which one fulfilled you the most? I guess would be
Sweet.
the best way to put it.
Yeah. The most listened to episode so far has been Kramer's episode
Okay.
from You versus Yesterday.
Yes, love them.
Well,
They're awesome.
so that was really cool to see that because I'm a huge fan of theirs as a friend and just as a listener. Seeing them grow as a band and get to record with all these amazing producers and just like traveling more and touring has been awesome to see. So getting to talk through those experiences with him and like kind of the start of the band to now was awesome. And I'd say, so the most rewarding one so far for me, just because this was somebody I looked up to growing up as being a graphic designer and just kind of seeing how his life has unfolded, is Jeff Finley. So I
Okay.
don't know if you've listened to that episode yet.
I've seen it in my feed. I haven't listened to it yet.
Give that one a listen because Jeff has like a lot of wisdom because he's a little older than us. He used to run a design firm called Go Media in Cleveland, so he was a co-owner for Go Media. And he knows Jordan Underfirth and he knows Jake Bryant and me. We started hanging out with him on and off. He would drive through Dayton because he was starting to do some traveling. And he actually got to see Hold Your Breath's like first show.
Really?
Like he came to hang out at that.
That is too cool.
Yeah, and I took him to Therapy Cafe. He's into EDM and electronic music. He has his own project called Starbound Renegade, which I can actually give you guys some stickers if you want.
Sure.
We were talking about just cross promotion and
Yeah, absolutely.
getting stickers on things, to help promote things. But he was like, I'm gonna move to Dayton because you guys just seem really cool and welcoming and I'm really excited to see the growth in Dayton because Cleveland's pretty well connected and has a lot going on. And I was telling him before and even on the podcast, I think he has a lot of value to add to Dayton and a lot of experiences. So just from it's he was somebody I looked up to. I was a fan of his and his work and really admired all the stuff that he did in Cleveland because he put on a design conference and a concert. Well, it was a design conference and festival that included music called Weapons of Mass Creation.
Okay.
In which he talks about on the podcast. But just building something out of nothing is he's always been great at that. And he has so much wisdom and it's just cool to interview somebody that you grew up in your adult life admiring.
Yeah. Almost
know.
kind of like a full circle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he lives here. How cool is that?
It's
you
crazy
just
how
don't see
life
that every
works.
day.
It's crazy how life works sometimes, man, and how stuff like that tends to line up.
Oh
Yeah, and it's just it was super rewarding and fulfilling to do that. It feels like you're like interviewing one of your heroes.
Yeah.
And just as a brief preview, for season 2, I actually got to interview James Maney from The Devil Wears Prada.
What?
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
that's
grew
too cool.
I grew up delivering the paper to his house, which I talked about on the Gem City podcast, I think.
It's crazy because like these bands are so big now, you forget that they just started in our backyard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what I want people to realize too, is like we have the opportunity to like kind of craft a story. We have an opportunity to be a part of stories, you know, like in some small way, I was a part of like James's stories with The Devil Wears Prada, like at least from my perspective. Like I was going to their local shows. I have so many memories going to see them like at a skate park, going to see their tours as they kept getting bigger, like at the Attic, and then seeing them in Chicago playing Warped Tour.
oh man.
Like, you know, like I would have never dreamed that,
Yeah.
you know, at least growing up. And
It shows that in this day and age where people like to say that music isn't a viable thing anymore, that's a great testament to how that's not the case. I mean,
right.
if you put the work in and you have something worth pursuing,
Yeah.
you can do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is hard work. It's a lot of, you sacrifice a lot, either time with your family or you don't watch the TV shows that you love to watch or play your video games, but you have the rest of your life to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying don't have fun, don't like enjoy yourself. Like I'm going to be playing Pokemon at midnight tonight. Well, probably like 1 o'clock. Probably until like 3 in the morning.
We're going to have you back on to do a review of that.
Dude,
Yeah,
I would love that, because that, like, it's been 25 years since Pokemon has came out.
Man.
Right. Like,
Are you in Go Eevee or Go Pikachu?
I'm going to be Team Pikachu.
Pikachu.
And we can talk for a little longer if you guys
No,
want.
oh yeah. I mean, I'm not hurting for time if you're not.
Cool. No. Let's see. It's like,
It's 9 o'clock.
yep, I have 3 more hours until I'll be at GameStop. But I think,
So what is this game? Because honestly, I don't know anything about it.
so it's a remake of Pokemon Yellow,
Oh my gosh.
essentially, but with Pokemon Go elements to it. So Pokemon Go is the mobile app.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah. So they kind of married the two. And it's the very first Pokemon game on the Switch other than Poke Tournament.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like something I need immediately.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember playing Yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, that was those Game Boy games still hold up, man. Every
Yeah.
single one of them is still a masterpiece to me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to buy a Game Boy SP again, which I never had the Game Boy SP. I had a Game Boy Color. So the very first Game Boy Color game I had was Pokemon Red. So we were going on a trip to Seattle to visit my family. My dad's side of the family lives in Seattle, so we were doing a family reunion. Well, my parents didn't want to fly. They decided we were going to take a train trip, a 3-day train trip.
Oh my gosh.
And at the time, I was like, we had just moved to Ohio from Virginia. So my dad was in the military, so we were moving around a lot.
Yeah.
I was born in California. We moved to Fairborn when I was 2. And then going into the first grade, we moved to Virginia so my dad could finish his doctorate.
Really?
Yep.
Cool.
So he went to Virginia Tech for 2 to 3 years, I think. Was it 2? I think it was like 3 or 4 years. But so he got hit that. We moved to Huber Heights, and I went into like private school. So right when we moved back to Ohio, they're like, we're going to go on this trip to Seattle. And I was like, all right. Like I had no choice. Like I was like going into like the 4th grade, you know?
Right. I mean,
But
what are you gonna do? Macaulay Culkin it?
right. So like it was summer, and I was like, I don't know how I heard about Pokemon. I think I was like introduced to the TV series, like the game had just come out to come to America, and they had heard me talking about it with my brother probably, and they decided, well, this is a 3-day trip, like they need something to do. So they bought me a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Red, and he bought my brother a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue, and we like both freaked out.
Oh man. Now, when you say a 3-day train trip, now was that train going the whole 3 days, or were there any rest stops or anything like that?
From what I remember, because this was forever ago, 25 years. It's
Yeah, oh,
so
yeah.
weird to say. But it was from Cincinnati. So we're the Cincinnati Cincinnati Museum of Discovery or whatever. I don't know. But it was from there to like Seattle, and
He's talking about the Justice Hall.
Yeah, I know.
yeah. But that's where the train station is.
Yeah.
And like from there to Seattle, you could either get sleeping cars or you slept in your seat. So we just slept in our seats.
Oh man.
But yeah,
Heck
I think
yeah.
it was pretty nonstop, other than to get gas or what.
Well,
Whatever they put in trains.
Yeah, I don't know if we were still in the era where they were shoveling coal into the engine. I don't know if that was still a thing.
I don't think so. But dude, it felt like I was on a real adventure playing that game while on a trip. You know what I mean? It was like the nostalgia is real.
I remember being a kid and being completely convinced that Pokemon were real.
Yeah.
They were just like in this part of the planet that we hadn't discovered yet.
Yeah.
And I just
Dude, that was me, dude.
oh man, I found Pokemon in everything. I would pick dandelions and it'd be a Pokemon. I don't know which one I would make it, but I'm like, nope, this is a Pokemon, and this cup's a Pokemon.
Dude, that's real now because we're on like what, Gen 6?
Yeah, dude.
Gen 5 or
it's
6.
It's definitely much bigger than the initial 150.
And they've created a Pokemon out of everything, I feel like.
Just about. And there's no end in sight. I mean,
Yeah.
that train will never stop. Pun intended.
No, dude, it was like, it's going to be cool to like relive this again because I kind of took a break in between. Like Pokemon Ruby was the last Pokemon game I had played. Not knocking the other gens. It's just like, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
Like,
There's
I have
always
things
so
I
much
have to
gaming
do.
you can do.
And like, I have a lot of friends that have played every single one, and like, props to them. It's so much to take in.
Yeah, last one I played was Emerald.
Nice.
Yeah,
oh, shoot. I did play Emerald, I think.
Well, I think, wasn't that the same gen, Ruby and Emerald?
Well, no, it was Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh, it was
Yeah,
Ruby
but
and
then
Sapphire.
they always came out with a third.
So I think Emerald was the third edition to that, maybe.
Maybe.
So they did Gold, Silver, and then Crystal was kind of the trifecta.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby, Sapphire, and then maybe, I think Emerald.
I think it was Emerald, but it was like... It was the last one before it just got so convoluted and there were so many Pokemon to try to find. I was just like, man, I can't even try to keep up with this anymore.
Yeah. So like with Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee, the fact that it's like a 3D Pokemon game, a lot of people are saying that they're kind of upset that they can't battle like Pokemon you encounter in the wild.
Yeah,
but
that was like, wasn't that like a gripe with Pokemon Go? Yeah.
Right. So like, but they're bringing in that Pokemon Go element to Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So like to kind of marry the two and to kind of bring those people on board that play Let's Go or Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
I think they needed to do that because they're already used to it. Like that was a huge phenomenon.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Yeah, I mean everyone was playing it. Everyone was going outside. Like I mean, we had a crew of guys in our friend group that we would go for hours.
Yeah.
I literally like the first month it came out. My buddy Noel and we had literally walked like 21 miles, like in 1 month, like straight walking, not like doing the car stuff.
Yeah. I tried to do the car stuff. That does not work. Not smart.
The only place I could possibly make it work was like in George Rogers, where you could just like creep through the forest.
Yeah.
But it still didn't work that good because the Pokemon doesn't spawn right.
Right. And it honestly, it's just what I love about Pokemon is it really opens up the imagination of reality and like fantasy. Because you were saying as a kid, you kind of imagined and like this is what I imagine Pokemon to be.
Yeah.
And like escapism is such a fascinating thing to me. Like I love bringing people into that, and that's what music really does for me is like it kind of marries the two worlds because you have like musicians who are creating like an ecosystem or an environment that they're inviting you into, like a story, and they have a persona about them, and it's like it's okay to have a separate like your real life and then your music life or your real life and your fantasy life in a way, because you're playing a character but it's a representation of you. It's just like amplified.
Yeah. I completely drew a blank. I had a question and then I completely lost it.
What's your favorite legendary?
There you go.
Man, there's so many good ones. So like from Gen 1 or Gen 2 or Gen 3 or
So we'll keep it OG, just
Okay.
just original 151.
I mean, Mewtwo is just always Mewtwo for sure, probably.
He's up there. Yeah.
Like, it's just like the story behind Mewtwo and being like the what would you call it? Because it was Mew,
It was
DNA from Mew.
he was a clone, more
Yeah.
or less. Yeah.
But the clone aspect of it and just being, man, I almost want to rewatch the first movie.
We were
It's so
just
good.
we were just
That-
talking about the first movie the other
Mewtwo
day.
quote is one of my all-time favorite quotes. The
Yeah.
one where he's the circumstances of your birth don't set the tone for the rest of your life in
Damn.
a general sense.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite quotes.
yeah,
And it came from a Pokemon.
Right.
yeah. That movie was like, oh, why was I so hyped? I don't even know why I was so hyped on that movie. It was just like,
It still holds up.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
a great
it
movie.
does.
But
I'm
some
pretty
of-
sure if I watched it today, when spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, Ash turns to stone.
yeah,
That I probably still would cry.
dude,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
I did
I
in
mean,
the
it's
theater.
real.
But-
When I first saw it, I definitely did.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though, the anime now, because you rewatch some of it and you're like, it's a little cheesy.
A little
It's
bit.
a little hard to like consume as an adult now, but it's something I could watch in the background from start to finish probably.
Yeah.
I would just
my-
have to remind myself like I could write better than this.
My biggest gripe with Pokemon is it's been out for 25 years and Ash is still 12 years old.
Well, yeah,
I've seen YouTube videos on that.
yeah. So I'm sure you guys have heard the fan theory about why that is. You know, the whole Ash may or may not be in a coma thing and all that.
Wow. I haven't
Okay,
heard that, but
dark
wow.
theory. Yeah, there's a dark theory on
That,
the
that
internet.
that's the only theory that's out there.
Yeah. But I like it's just incredible what it's turned into, because like
Oh,
how
yeah.
Pokemon Go is like kind of a phenomenon in the mobile app gaming world, because they utilize like AR technology, like just having because you can catch them in real life, like you can turn on the AR or turn it off, but you just like it's the lines are kind of blurred
Yeah.
from reality to fiction or reality to the internet.
I don't think you can understate how important Pokemon is, at least here in the West, to like how big anime has become.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah.
a lot of people point to Toonami, and I love Toonami. That was my stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I remember Pokemon being the first bit of that. They didn't even call it anime back then. They called it Japanimation.
Huh.
And I
That's
think,
interesting.
Yeah, I think
Origins of anime.
yeah, I've done a little bit of research on that, but
Yeah.
Just a little.
it's amazing when you see that it all goes back to that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and now anime is probably bigger in the West than it's ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of people that are watching that stuff now is unreal, and it all
Yeah.
goes back to that.
That's interesting.
Have you followed anything with this I Choose You movie that's coming out, or
I-
has come out, or
I
whatever?
watched it. There was one night that I was just like home alone. I was like, well, I've been kind of wanting to check this out because I've heard a little bit about it. So I rented it because I was like, I don't really need to own it necessarily. And I kind of lost interest like a third of the way through, because like I said, like I haven't been really impressed with the writing for the English versions of these movies, but I thought it was interesting how they were able to tie in the original Pokemon episode, like the pilot, I guess you would say.
Yeah, wasn't this more or less kind of a retelling of that?
Yeah, because it followed Ash with Ho-Oh, and because that was like the first Gen 2 Pokemon to appear on the very first episode of the
Yeah.
show. So it was like kind of a spoiler in a way, or like a tease, like what is this mysterious thing? And it kind of made the world feel a little bigger, because you're like, okay, there's going to be more to this than just like Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah, I mean, it set the tone very
Mm-hmm.
much to where you had no idea what you were going to see going forward.
Right.
You know what's cool is I was reading an article a couple months back. If you go into the coding of those original games like Red,
Yeah.
Blue, and all that,
Yeah.
there actually are unused coded Pokemon in there
Wow.
that they had planned on putting in there, but they didn't actually completely write in.
Yeah.
Which is where you get the missing no.
Yeah, that threw me off because I remember missing No from that train trip. Like I remember people talking about it so early. Like, isn't that nuts? Like as a kid, like you run into these little glitches or things, and like you had to hear about it from the person sitting next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the I want to get back to that. I want, like, from a concert standpoint, from a interest standpoint,
like a word of mouth thing.
Yeah. So it's like, it's hard to. Twitter's kind of the word of mouth now.
Yeah.
DMing people is kind of the word of mouth. But if there was like secrets, like little Easter eggs that you could plant into things, and it's like, to hear about this, you have to talk to so and so.
Yeah.
That would be cool again.
That was cool. There was always so much human interaction there, especially with video games back in the day, because when we first started playing video games, like, for instance, Ocarina of Time,
Yeah.
if there was a glitch or anything, I couldn't jump online to find out what it is to exploit it.
Right.
You had to wait for one of your friends to figure it out and then be like, hey, do this.
Yeah. With Breath of the Wild, even, I remember I got Breath of the Wild in my Switch like pretty late, like maybe 6 months into the system being around. So people had already played through it, but they patched. Like, there was a way that you could flip over a Guardian and just have it, like, rain all those parts and, like, to build, like, the different costumes and stuff. And it was like, well, I missed out on that because they already patched the game.
Yeah, you still kind of can do that to a point. If you take, like, a claymore or something and smack all its legs off and then flip it, it won't, like, constantly pour, but it gives you a pretty hefty amount of gears.
I'll have to try that. So I was going to revisit that game soon, but probably after Pokemon.
Yeah. There's always so much time, and you got to dedicate it to all these different games. Like, I still haven't gotten Red Dead 2.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have a job, so I'm still working on that. But as soon as I can, I will be checking out that game.
Yeah,
Nice.
our roommates have it, and they've been playing through it.
Yeah.
So I've got to play it a little bit, but have you played it at all?
No, so I only own a Switch right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So I had an Xbox 360 and I sold that, and I had a PS2 at one point that Jake actually gave me. But like, I want to probably invest in either a PS4 or Xbox One after Christmas, probably, just to kind of get caught up on bills and stuff.
I would say, and this is just my opinion, if you're using it solely for video gaming, I'd probably go with the PS4.
Okay.
Control is better, more comfortable.
Yeah.
Reacts better.
Okay.
But if you want something that can also be like a media center, go with the Xbox.
I have both, and
The
they're both great in their own way.
The only true downfall I think that Xbox has is if you don't have internet, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, you have to have a Wi-Fi connection to even play offline.
Okay.
On
Well, I
the
definitely
Xbox.
have that. So I'm set there. But that is interesting because I was kind of, I'll have to keep looking it up and like researching it. But I like a lot of indie games. Like, indie games are definitely like important for me. And indie developers kind of publish to all platforms now, which is great. But that wasn't always the case.
I've heard indie gaming is huge on the Switch right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I bought Hollow Knight. So Hollow Knight came out on Steam, I think 2 or 3 years ago, but that's on the Switch, and I've played through like 90% of that. So you can beat the game and then continue playing to discover new areas and unlock new bosses. But Hollow Knight's great. Stardew Valley, I think, is definitely considered like an indie title that I just started playing. What else do I have on my Switch?
I've been sitting down.
No, you're good. There's I forget the name of it, but it's like this, you go into this alternative universe. It's a story game, so I like story games where you're like point and click essentially.
Oh, okay. Kind of like a Telltale thing.
Yeah, I like Telltale games. It's been a while since I've played one, but I like that style of game.
Oh, here's a point and click throwback for you. Did you ever play RuneScape growing up?
No, but that is something that's come back.
Yeah, they actually put it on mobile devices now.
Yeah, I have a few friends that are playing through RuneScape right now.
Ian, is it gonna bother you if I vape? Okay, cool.
Dude, vape away.
Okay, cool. I'm a week into quitting smoking, so
Yeah.
this guy's my best friend right now.
Dude, congrats. So I picked up the habit of smoking like when I was 19 or 20. It was like my roommate smoked. And it's just like, it took me a while to quit because I've been on and off for a long time. But I finally officially quit like 3 or 4 months ago.
All right, high five,
So,
man. That's awesome.
Thank you. And it's been tough too because now that shows are where people tend to smoke here and there, and like it's just so hard to like turn one down because if I'm drinking, you kind of get the urge to smoke. So I was like, thankfully I haven't fallen into that trap yet, and so I've been able to say no to that pretty consistently. So I've been like just patting myself on the back like telling Abby like, yeah, like I didn't say yes to a cigarette tonight.
Have you noticed that food starts to taste better when you quit?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm only a week out, and I'm already
Yeah.
noticing that it's like, I had a bologna sandwich earlier, and it was like
Nice.
the best bologna sandwich I've ever had in my life.
No,
I'm
it's-
like, man.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people I know that have quit or have kind of gone into vaping or the Juuls. Like there's the Juuls now. I think a lot of people are using. And it's fine. Like I just don't need an alternative right now. And I think part of it's I keep myself so busy that I don't even think about it. But this new job I started, I know there's quite a few people that smoke there. And I'm just like, like I don't want to fall into that trap of social smoking.
I struggled so hard when I was working at factories because like the last job I had was a factory job, and you'd go out to the smoke area just to have a break, and there'd be so much smoke. It's like I wouldn't even need a cigarette. I could just take a breath. And
Yeah.
And so once I got out of there, it became a lot easier. And then once I ran out of money,
Yeah, no,
I
for
couldn't
sure.
get them anymore.
It's expensive. It's really expensive. But
It's amazing what some people charge. I went to New York with SSA, and it was like $12 a pack. And then you go down to Vegas, and it's like 20 a pack.
Yep, I
Oh,
ran into that
jeez.
with Collie. So I went with Collie on tour, like in this last spring. It's like it gets expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is there any battling in Let's Go?
Yeah. So in the trailer, actually, they show people just hanging out like in a park, playing wirelessly. So that's something I'm super stoked about, and I'm hoping.
Awesome.
Are there, so obviously you can battle like person to person.
Yeah.
Is there also like gym leader battles? and
Oh yeah.
stuff?
So since it's a remake of Pokemon Yellow, you're going through Pewter City. I forget, like the whole region's just called.
Okay, so you're working up to the Elite Four and the Pokemon
I
League
believe
and all
so.
that
There,
again.
I guess somebody already got a hold of the game and posted spoilers online. Like, how can you play through a game in like a day or two?
There
It
are
blows
some
my mind.
there are some YouTubers that get that stuff so early. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Like the way early access. Like, what was it? What was the game? There was some shooter game that came out like a year ago. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But PewDiePie had gotten
Okay.
it like a couple months before it had even came out.
Was it
Yeah.
Call of Duty?
It might have
It
been.
might have been World War II because I know that was like.
I-
Well, that came out like early this year.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah,
Dude,
it
it's
might have been
funny
that.
though, because like we live in that age where people do get early access to like technology, like get to review these things, and it's sweet because like that's some of their jobs.
Well, yeah, we got our
But-
fingers crossed, and maybe one day that'll be our job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're
dude. I'm
starting
in
to
the
get
same
into
boat as you guys. It's like just that we can close with this, but just newly becoming like content creators is it's a little overwhelming, and you like I said before, reading your audience, going through engagement instead of just like going for the likes and stuff is like ask people what they want to see from you, because then they'll share it. Like, I love this review from so and so, or like this doesn't just have to be a podcast. You can, like you said, expand to a YouTube channel. Product reviews, restaurant reviews.
When people ask me what we do, I tell them we're building an empire.
Dude, that's yeah.
That's what we're doing, because the
Yeah.
goal, our overall goal with this is to eventually grow to where Kame-Cast is more than just a show unto itself. It's a service that's
Cool.
provided to people.
Okay.
You know, like whether that be a place for bands to debut their music videos,
Yeah.
or whatever that might be. I have a bunch of photography friends that I would
Yeah.
love to talk to about doing photography books and that kind
Ooh.
of stuff. I mean,
I love that.
I think that's the lofty pie in the sky dreams that I have for this thing. Is
Yeah.
I want to see this thing become something that can be a positive force for people.
I love that, dude. And that's definitely possible with the internet now, and just having the support systems that we all have it's going to keep growing. You're going to be able to keep, people have said this on other podcasts I listen to, but iterating in public, it's like, it's so, like, the audience is so small now that you're going to have room to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Dude, the first live stream I did on Facebook, we had to start it and end it probably 2 or 3 times before we really got started. We were 10 or 15 minutes late to actually making it. Like, I had a timer started. You guys, we're going to start in 15 minutes. I accidentally started the 15-minute timer back up. And it's like, that stuff happens. People don't care as much as you think about the mistakes.
Right.
Yeah. The biggest mistake we made with our first live stream is we were gonna live stream our reactions
Yeah.
to the UFC 229.
229, the Conor
Okay.
McGregor fight with
Okay.
Khabib. Yeah.
Ooh.
We were we were not even 2 minutes into our live stream when UFC pulled the feed.
Because I'm an idiot and I
no.
ran the hashtag UFC 229. Had I not run that hashtag, we wouldn't have had any issues. But
Okay.
we found a workaround. What we did was we went live on Spreaker,
Okay.
who houses our iTunes content
Yeah.
and all that. We went live directly through them.
I didn't know they
and-
had that feature.
Yeah, they have this
Okay.
app called Spreaker Studio.
Okay.
And you can go straight. I mean, it was audio only.
Yeah,
we,
but still.
But we were able to go live on that and get it out that way.
Cool. I'll have you guys show me that sometime because
Oh,
I'm kind
definitely.
of curious to see what they offer.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
It's
it was pretty good sound quality too for just being.
Yeah, it was just
recorded
off my
on
phone.
His phone.
That's
yeah,
sick.
we have our tripod over there. We put
Yeah.
the phone on the tripod and just put it right up to our mouths. And
Yeah, that's rad.
you should have seen Cody when Derek Lewis got his knockout. Cody was swinging the tripod around, and
That's
he
awesome.
was happy.
I'm like, Derek Lewis, knockout. Yeah, you gotta see. Yeah.
That's
Well-
super rad.
Well, before we wrap up with you, who? Not that you have any specific favorites at all, but
Yeah.
who would you say in the local scene is just killing it right now?
Man, that is a tough question. Like as a band,
Yeah,
band-wise,
band wise, artist wise, whichever.
man, Dayton specifically.
I'd say the local region area. Bands
Yeah,
that
so-
come in and out.
I guess Miami Valley would probably be the best way to say it.
Okay.
I'd probably say mine is probably Knavery.
Knavery is
they're-
like one of the first to come to mind. And not just because they're helping with Hear&See,
Yeah.
like a lot of them are, but just like their work ethic has been really cool to watch. They seem like a band that hasn't been afraid to make mistakes, and they're growing. Like they just put that new song out. Just like I don't know, they're like generally wanting to help everyone, not just their own band.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool to watch. Man, dude,
Kind of put you on the spot there.
no,
sorry.
but like I just actually thought of the band because they're not even necessarily a traditional band, but the name of the group is called Crystal Grid.
That sounds
I think
familiar.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, so Crystal Grid's like this duo, Jared and Christian, I want to say. No, Cody. Sorry, man. If they listen to this, I'm like, apologies. But they like just have been putting out 2 or 3 singles every so often. They've been collaborating with artists. So they do, Cody plays saxophone, Jared does like percussion and like the instrumentation.
Okay.
But it's like, I'll send you guys a link to their stuff because it's super great.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
But they've taken the approach of just like really taking their careers in their own hands. So they've been on plenty of podcasts to tell their story. So I won't tell all the story, but they basically have a business plan. They have like a release model. They were able to find a manager like pretty quickly. And it's like they'll play like shows in Cincinnati and Dayton. They've played at the Mask. They just played at the Levitt Pavilion. They were a part of a show called Up and Up. So Up and Up helps bring college
Yeah.
acts like touring acts to colleges. So there's some UD students that put on this Up and Up festival. It was on a Thursday night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah, I forget the name of the headlining artist. It was like 2 guys or something. Or see, like the fact that they got this to Dayton and there's like 2,000 people that showed up. That's incredible.
That is amazing.
Now EDM is really niche in a way, and like EDM's really popular. Like college students like EDM and dancing and all that stuff. But that's like the type of energy that I want to bring to the local scene and the local shows again. It's like Crystal Grid has kind of found that niche. They enjoy that style of music, and they're playing to their advantage.
Yeah. Man, so that show that you just did on Saturday.
Yeah.
Talk about high energy, and I did not expect it at all.
Yeah.
Nick and his band.
Yes.
Better Anyway, they killed it.
Yeah. Better
Like, they
Anyways would probably be my favorite. Like, they're kind of like the underdogs right now.
Yeah.
Because for me, I mean, I know all of them personally. I've been in bands with Nick. I actually haven't been in bands with Nick, but I've been in bands with people that have been in bands
Right.
with Nick.
Yeah.
And like,
It's all very incestuous and
Yeah.
interesting here.
but I love like the passion that if all the bands he's been in, they've all been super passionate and just like driven. And him being a lead in a band is so incredible to watch.
It's very natural. I
Yeah.
messaged him the next day and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I went into your guys' set. expecting it to be good, but
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it to be anything like life-changing. Like, okay, a pop-punk band,
Yeah.
I know what I'm in for.
Yeah.
But as I was watching them, man, I don't know what it was, but there is something special about that band.
Yeah. Do you
Like,
guys?
there's something very special about the message they're delivering.
Yeah, and I just actually have a thought of a way that we can collaborate if you guys are down. But I'm needing people to like document shows,
Document shows.
like
in what way?
video.
You know, it's
Just
funny.
like setting up a tripod and like being there to like record the entire set if they want, or like 2 or 3 songs.
Well, I mean, right now we don't have much in the way of camera equipment. We got our phones and a
Right.
tripod.
Right.
But we can do that. We'd be more than willing to do that
Yeah.
where we can.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But that can always grow into getting more video gear. I don't know. Like, I don't know what that looks like. But even having just a live stream.
Well, that brings me to something I've been meaning to ask you about. I was going to ask you about it off the recording, but I can always cut this out if need
Yeah.
be. Would you ever consider co-promoting a show?
Yeah,
like
of
like
course.
with an entity like us?
Yeah, absolutely. I have actually done it with the sponsor of the podcast for the
Really?
first season. So, Manual Creative Arts Academy was co-hosting 2 shows that we did.
Because one thing we're looking at doing is we don't know if we're going to get to do it next year or
Yeah.
maybe the year after, but the idea is we would love to get to where we do like an annual show.
Yeah.
Because we're getting to where we're showcasing so many local artists. It'd be such a great way to round out the year with, hey, here's the
Yeah.
artist that we featured this year, and
Yeah.
give them a platform.
Absolutely.
Rent out a venue, do whatever we got to do.
Yeah.
And you being so involved in all that, I figured now would be the perfect time to talk to someone and maybe try to get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, I'd love to chat more about that. I think that'd be a great way to like help each other out. So I'm definitely down. And that's the thing too, is like I want to empower people to help if they want to put on an event and they're willing to do not a majority of the work, but like
Do our share.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'd be willing to put my name attached to the Hear&See brand to that to help quote unquote legitimize the show.
Right.
Because it's like when I was first putting on shows at these churches, I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I had played in bands, I had booked shows, but it was like very sparse.
Mm-hmm.
So like the church I was doing it at, it was kind of like they branded it under the church name, like Hopeland Church or Hopeland Presents. I forget the exact name we put it under, but just associated with the youth group.
Yeah.
And those shows were really well attended. Like we did a Wild Skin show, 200 people roughly. Cinema Century, we did their debut show. So these were both debut shows for these bands, but 200 people both times. And like that just spoke to like the level of production. Like the church had a great sound system, great lights. Like we had volunteers involved. But that's what having a community effort really looks like. Is like not every show is going to be 200 to 300 people.
No.
You know, but like if you promote it in a timely manner, you get really great bands who are putting out good music. You know, when Better Anyways puts out their album this Friday, I don't know if they'll do well, I guess they have that show in Springfield actually.
Yeah, which we'll
November
be at.
30th.
Yeah.
I'm planning on being there too. It's like those shows are going to be so special.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I remember when he first told us they were doing that show. I'm like, dude. I looked at Cody. I'm like, dude. I don't care what we're doing. It's like we have to be there because
Yeah.
when's the next time we're gonna get a show in Springfield?
It
Yeah.
also became a thing where he and I had talked about starting to showcase local bands and everything, and it's
Yeah.
like we need to take it one step further and not just talk about these guys, but actually go out, show up, and support,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
be out there actually interacting with all them, which is
Yeah.
in a big way why we came out to that show. Was
Yeah, I appreciated that
to
so
help
much
promote
too.
you, Better Anyway, Grasmere.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately, we'll go ahead and out ourselves. We did have to leave the show early, but
Man, I'm just,
yeah.
I
we
understand,
did-
dude. I
we
understand.
did have to. I was just getting over like really bad sickness.
Yeah,
As-
dude.
as
Don't
was I.
apologize like that. Take care of yourself first. You know.
But I'm
I
glad
get
we
it.
at least got to see Grasmere and Better Anyway,
Plus,
and
it was
get
really
to see what
cold.
they were like.
Yeah,
yeah, that place
absolutely.
was cold.
I know.
It
I
was
was gonna
fun,
ask
though.
them about the heat soon.
Yeah, are you gonna be doing more out there with them?
Yeah, so just a brief preview, and then I'm sure we can wrap up. Is like I'm still gonna partner with Mike's Bike Park, Brightside, and also Encore to do shows next year.
Have you thought about doing any work with Isaac Reeder and Rockstar?
I would love to. I mean, like me and him, like we've known each other forever, and I've reached out to him before, so I do want to continue a conversation about that. But it's like I've never wanted to step on his shows as a promoter because he's been doing it way longer than I have.
Yeah.
He's very professional about it, and I respect him a ton because he's booked my bands before, like when I was in States Away and Hemisphere. You know, so like I owe a lot to him and like just the experiences I've had as a musician.
You know, I'm glad you just said States Away, because like I've wrestled for the longest time until you just said, I'm like, was he in States Away?
Yeah.
It's like I knew you were in Hemisphere,
Yeah.
and I loved Hemisphere, and I love States Away too, but it had been so long that I'm like,
Yeah.
was he actually in States
Yeah.
Away, or am I just remembering wrong?
No, you're right. That was a big part of my life.
You guys did those reunion shows a while back, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Any plans to potentially do anything like that again?
It's hard to say. I mean, I would love it if those guys were into it, and I don't play drums frequently anymore. But it would be fun to do at at Mike's Bike Park as a throwback.
That'd be fun.
I think we really had a Springfield following, so our biggest shows were always in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
So the last reunion show we did was at Lions
Club.
Lions
Yeah.
Club.
Is that
was
place by your dad's house?
No, it's over in Northridge. It's right down the road from Kenton Ridge, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So
Yeah.
that's where I think the show's happening for better anyways.
Yeah.
But those were always like our best turnouts, so I think we always tried to do the reunion shows either there or the one prior to that was at Yellow Cab. But it's just kind of like you're kind of beating a dead horse in a way. Like it's
Yeah.
great to relive those shows and like have fun.
They're fun to do as one-offs, but probably not that creatively fulfilling
But
necessarily.
I mean, I don't forget how to play the songs. Like it's kind of muscle memory at this point. But you want to move on with your life, and like I guess you can tie this into Pokemon. Like it's going to be super great. It's been 25 years since I've played the red, blue, yellow like series of the game, and they remade it. If we ever did States Away again, it would have to be its own thing. You know, like we've all we have families now, like really great like solid jobs, and you can't always revisit the past. Like I want to press forward with the future.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can definitely understand. I guess I just asked as a fan because
thank
unfortunately
you.
I didn't get to go to any of the reunion shows, so I'm like holding out that maybe they'll do one more and I'll actually get to go to
Yeah.
one.
Well, I'll send you. I don't know if you saw any video, but we have video on YouTube.
I feel like I did.
Yeah, so those videos are always there to watch.
All right, heck yeah.
I know it's not the same. It's not
Hey,
the same.
hey,
but
you know what? John Lennon used to say that all the time when people would ask him if he wanted to get the Beatles back together. He's like, "Yeah, no, you guys have the records if you want, but I'm over here doing my thing with Yoko."
No, dude, that's a great point.
So I mean, you know, it's fun to go back and reminisce from time to time, and I'm sure those one-off shows, when they do happen, and if they ever do happen again, will be fun.
Yeah.
But I just love what you're doing now, man.
Thank you.
It's great, and it's great to have someone else out there doing podcasts because it gives us someone to bounce off of, and because we see what you're doing, and we're kind of changing our model a little bit, not necessarily to copy you, but we see what you're doing. It's like, okay, we see how we can be more efficient.
Yeah, do what works.
And,
I mean, there's a lot of people I look up to who do podcasts, and like I said, like with Jeff, like I've looked up to him for years now with his graphic design, and he's written books and stuff that I've read, and it's like those, you have to pull from your influences or people you look up to, and like, don't rip anyone off, obviously, but like formatting, formats are there for a reason. It's a template to help build things. So that's like when I was talking about bootstrapping your website or bootstrapping your business, those templates are there for a reason, to make things easier.
That is awesome. Well, I think it is about time we wrap up. Cool. Ian, where can we find you? Let's plug your social media for everything.
Yeah. So for my personal pages, everything is at Ian E. Baldwin. So IANEBALDWIN. For anything Hear&See, it's at HearSee Co. HearSeeCo.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool,
the
cool,
website's in development. So you'll probably, once this episode goes up, I'll have some type of splash page there, but it's just hearandse.co.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool. And when's the next show you got coming up?
Yeah, so in January we do have, we're planning a show, and it'll probably be announced this week, for Gabe Moss, Collie, Beloved Youth. That's going to be at Brightside. I think it's on January 12th. Trying to get 2 other shows, like the details finalized, but yeah, I'll be posting them on all those social pages.
Oh, I can't wait, and Lord knows we will do everything in our power to get people out there to you.
Thank you guys. Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, guys, we are going to go ahead and wrap up. We want to thank Ian Baldwin so much for being here. Want to thank all of you guys for listening. You can find us on all of our social media platforms. You can find Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Ask Jeeves, Braille, smoke messages, whatever you got, we're on it.
Yeah.
Find us on Apple Podcasts.
Leave some comments in the YouTube section. Anything you want us to talk about, or anything you thought you'd like to hear more from us from this.
And if you got any questions for Mr. Ian Baldwin that maybe we didn't get to, drop them in the comments, and next time we have him around, because I hope this won't be the last time.
No, I'd love to be back on. So thank you guys for having me here, and it was awesome to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to do it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. I've been Doug Keeney.
I'm Cody Taylor.
And this is Kame-Cast.
See ya.
Bye-bye.